Hello and welcome to the Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Mary Kuney, and my guests today are Bryan Collins, Spokane Valley Fire Chief, and Brian Asmus with the Liberty Lake Police Chief. Brian and Bryan, thank you and welcome to today's program. So today the topic of our program is the integration of our regional emergency communication services. Before we get started on that topic, I would like to ask Chief Collins if he would like to give us a little overview on his background and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the fire service now about I'm in my 35th year, Mary. About 28 years in the San Francisco Bay Area before I came up here in 2013 to become the fire chief here at Spokane Valley. So I've been 6+ years now as a fire chief here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and we're happy to have you. Now, I will ask, what part of San Francisco Bay Area were you?
I'm in the East Bay, so
Okay.
Walnut Creek specifically.
Very
just
good.
outside Oakland.
Okay, thank you very much. And so, Chief Asmus, then, could you give us a little bit of overview and background on yourself?
Yes, so I got involved in law enforcement starting in 1990 as a reserve police officer, so volunteer officer for the city of Yelm, which is located in Thurston County. Worked my way up through the ranks. Through there, I stayed there till 2001. I worked my way up to be the police chief there. And then Liberty Lake had this amazing opportunity where they were in a newly incorporated city, looking to start their own police department from the ground up. It looked like an amazing opportunity, and so in 2001, I came on as the police chief in Liberty Lake and have been the chief there since 2001.
Wow, thank you. That's awesome. No, and it's been a while that you've been the police chief out there then, and you're the only police chief
Correct.
they've had this entire time.
Correct.
So that's great. So to lay the groundwork for today for our conversation, I want to give our audience an overview of what our region's emergency communications has looked like historically over the past years, and then kind of what it's going to look like in the future. So if we could talk about what it's looked like in the past.
Well, yeah, sure. So from the law enforcement perspective, when I first started in 2001, it was very interesting to learn about how dispatch communications was working in Spokane County. So coming from Thurston County, we had a civilian-run integrated communications center. And so this was a kind of a different model that I was not used to coming to Spokane County. And really the way that it worked when I got here is that each department had their own silo, if you will. So there was a 911 department, there's crime check operators, and then there was a sheriff's dispatch component, and then a city of Spokane dispatch component. So each one kind of run independently from each other, even though they're all under the same roof. And so that's how this is in Spokane County, which is a little bit of a different experience than I was used to. So it was interesting getting used to that.
Interesting. And do you have a similar?
Yeah, so I came from
story?
a regional system, a regional fire system, and the system here in Spokane County, if you kind of go back to the fire side of things, in 1998, they consolidated. My understanding is that most of the fire districts in the county before that had their own dispatch centers, and so about '98, they all moved together in the kind of the first step of integration, when the fire dispatch combined into the city of Spokane, and everybody contracted with the city of Spokane for their dispatch services. So that happened in '98 for the fire side. We've been consolidated, if you will, for quite a while and working together very well for quite a while. Then 2008, the first 1/10 measure passed, which helped us build out the radio system that was badly needed in terms of the ability to keep it running and sustainability. That was primarily for the technology for the radio system itself. Then in 2017, of course, Prop 1 passed, which then funded and will allow the funding for integrated communications across the full scope of communications. And then in 2019, the new Spokane Regional Emergency Communications, or SREC as we call it, will begin operations.
Yeah, no, which we're very excited. So I just want to kind of go back to the old system and talk about kind of what the hurdles were and even the hurdles of trying to get to this new system. So I don't know if one of you would like to talk on that.
Yeah, I think from a fire perspective, we were working pretty well together. So like I said, we were consolidated, and that wasn't such a hurdle. Technology and keeping up with technologies is always a struggle, and it's become accelerated as we've gone through the 2000s. And so that's always been a bit of a challenge. But from a fire chief's perspective, our ability to talk to our partners in law enforcement and EMS, the ambulance providers, those outside, those other agencies that we work with, especially law now, multiple times every day, we respond to the same calls. Really struggled to communicate well with them. And more importantly, we didn't get the same information that they had, and they didn't get the same information that we had. And so we had people go into this emergent situation, oftentimes dangerous environment, where we weren't sharing and privy to the same communications, the same intelligence and situational awareness. So that's always been a challenge in our current system and in the years past.
And Chief Bryan, since you came from an integrated system before and then to this kind of siloed system, you, I guess, could
Right,
see the need for this.
Yes, and it was very interesting. And so, prior to 2008, when we had the radio upgrade, it was an interesting challenge that we would be, so fire and police would be on the same call, whether it be a motor vehicle crash as an example. And so the fire is there maybe doing fire suppression, providing first aid. Law enforcement's there in a capacity to do some traffic control. And so for us to communicate, even though we might have just been across the street from each other, from our fire partners, would require us to contact our dispatch, police dispatch, say, can you contact fire dispatch, and let them know that we need a certain resource, for example, as opposed to being able to just directly get on a channel shared with that firefighter that's across the street from us and talk directly to them. So that was a huge change to be able to do that in 2008. So we appreciate the technology that's been put in place to make us more efficient that way.
Yeah, and so as technology has changed and we have those communication systems now up, so let's talk about what's going to be new and exciting to have this come together to make it a regional communication, emergency communication center.
Yeah, so there's a lot of exciting changes. This full integration and the ability to implement, the next phases of 911 and emergency communications is going to be, it's going to be fast-paced. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be great for our public. And so the center, the future, keeping up the ability to keep up with technology, to share resources, leverage those technology resources, leverage our human resources, and that is, be able to move people throughout the center that are trained in multiple disciplines, no longer just the sheriff's department or this fire department or, the Spokane police or, city police department or something that employees will be cross-trained eventually to be able to move to where the needs are. And so if on a particular event, there's a big demand for police, radio traffic, and it's a law enforcement issue, helps right there in the center. Right now, the way the center's set up, you have what you have on duty, and then the only help you're going to really get it would be bringing back people off duty to do that. So that's out there, the ability to keep up with technology and the next gen 911 stuff that's coming in the future would be most drastic change in the 911 in the last 50 years since we've had 911 coming up. So there's a lot of fun and exciting stuff coming our way.
No, it's very exciting. And one of the things is asking how emergency communications has evolved over the years. And I'll just tell you a little bit, when I became commissioner, I went on a tour of the 911 center. And it was interesting to me how, it was very siloed. It's like, here's the row of carpet going down the middle, and this is county, this is city, this is fire, this is 911. And so, I'm excited to see it come together because I think it is, going to be much better. And so I guess that's how, other areas have evolved, and now we get to evolve with that. So kind of one of the exciting things that I see happening. And so, so I'm going to ask you now, so what kind of improvements can our residents expect from our new integrated system? Because that's the main thing. That's why we're doing it to help you, and I think it makes you better, but it's also for our citizens. And so what can they expect?
Yeah, so the system we're building, Mary, is it's designed to be efficient, effective, affordable, and thus sustainable, right? And so we're going to, for years and decades to come, and that's really important to us in our business, is to have that sustainability and know that the system's going to be solid for all those years. We're going to have improvements in coordination that'll show up in the service levels to our community, leverage cost controls that benefit the taxpayers, long-term cost savings through shared technologies and systems, improved coordination between police, fire, emergency management, and those types of agencies. So there's a lot of changes that especially those of us in the business that see it every day will notice. The end users, they're having an emergency. They're not quite as well informed on all the intricacies of the system, but they will see a system that works, that's affordable, efficient, effective, and is going to be there for years and years and years. And that's what we're trying to build for them.
Yeah, and so exactly, that's the whole purpose of this integrated system, is to build that model. And you have to think about, just trying to keep up with technology and what that requires when, you think back to our original, how we used to do business, and it was all analog radios, and it was very hardware based. So, it's a new radio, it's a new piece of equipment that you have. And now it's all technology based. And to keep up with that technology is going to require those exact things. It has to be affordable, it has to be sustainable. Because just as you know, anybody that has a smartphone, how often that technology changes, and people are replacing their smartphones every year because there's the newest thing that's something that's better about that. So we're dealing with the same type of thing, just on a larger scale, that we need to keep up with that technology, and this model will allow us to do that.
Yeah, and I think as a citizen and as a financial person, to me the important thing is our citizens want response. So in this new model, we should be able to meet or exceed the response times that we've had in the past. So that's, I think, one of the benefits to our citizens.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date technology, because you having the most up-to-date technology means you're getting to our citizens faster and more effectively.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the outcomes that we fully expect from the integrated center.
Very good. So then a question, does this regionally integrated center function better for large-scale emergencies, such as when we had the ice storm or the windstorm or large fires? Because that's kind of the other piece of it that we see, that the system kind of got overloaded in the past. And so can you speak to how this new system will help us, when those large-scale emergencies occur?
Yeah, so Chief Collins talked about it a little bit earlier, but more specifically to those large events like you're referring to. The current model that we have, again, with kind of that siloed approach, is that you have employees that are specifically trained and they're very good at what they do. And so you have a Spokane police dispatcher or a sheriff's dispatcher, and that is what they're used to, and that's what they're trained to do. So in the new center, our goal is to have that cross-training so that each person working in that dispatch center will have that training needed, so that when resources are needed, whether it's on the fire side or the police side, that we can take all those resources that are already inside that building, human resources is what I'm referring to, and be able to put them to work where they are needed based on that large-scale incident. So whether it's a firestorm, whether it's an active shooter situation, now we have additional resources available, already working, that are cross-trained and can help in that way.
No, I think that's going to be very important.
Additionally, moving to a single computer-aided dispatch system. Right now, we have multiple public safety answering points within the center, and that is, we have a couple of different computer CADs, if you will, that really are the brains of the dispatch piece. Outside of course, our human beings, which operate everything and make it work. But going to a single CAD will then eliminate the call transfers that occur within the center right now. And in large emergencies where the system is stressed because of the number of thousands and thousands of calls that are coming in, each one of those transfers that you can cut down makes a big difference. And so that's just one of the benefits of a single CAD platform, that these all good integrated centers operate off a single CAD.
And as you say that, that that helps then in the small situation as well too, because as someone who calls into 911, you're not getting transferred a couple of times. It's then a seamless system that gets you the need that you're asking for right away.
Yeah.
So no, that's great.
And we'll have that shared. So if we can get to that same CAD or the computer-aided dispatch platform, that means the same information that we are receiving from the law enforcement side is being shared with our partners on the fire service, and likewise, because more and more incidents we're responding together on lots of various incidents. And right now with the two different CAD systems, the information may not be the same between the two CADs. And so integrating those into one just means a more efficient service.
Safer for our folks.
Yeah, and let me just ask, because as we go live, and I'm not sure if I'm ahead of myself or not, but as we go live with that, because the platform is still separate at this point.
Yeah.
And as we look to go live, then what is the time frame on integration of that system?
Right. So, we upgraded on the police side, their computer-aided dispatch a couple of years ago now. It's been. We're moving, the fire side's plan is to move to that same platform. We're in the process right now, so the project's underway. A project will probably be up and running summer to fall of 2020. So we're about a year out. It takes that much time to configure it, test it, set it up, get it working, and be able to duplicate everything that we do in our current system. So that's the timeline. About a year from now, we'll make that migration over to that new CAD.
And so police has already done that, but fire
We're already on it, yes.
Working on it.
Police and 911 are on that same CAD.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, very good. So as you've been out in the community, how has the response been? And are you out there talking to community members and letting them know what's happening and what's going on, so that way, what your efforts are in this integration?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I've been out a lot. I've had a couple of different opportunities to speak to political leaders and community leaders and others. And honestly, they're very supportive. They're excited that we're actually doing it for the reasons we're doing it, to make things better and to make things more affordable and efficient and effective, and be around long term. But also there's a large percentage of people I talk to that think it's already happening. They didn't understand that it was separate to begin with. They figured it was all already integrated. So when they find out it wasn't, they're like, wow, well, yes, you should do that, because I guess their mind's already been there, it's there. So very well received on the people that I've talked to within the different communities that Spokane Valley Fire Department serves.
Yeah, and I've had the same experience with talking not only to our own council, but to several service organizations in the community. So the Rotary and Kiwanis, I've been in front of them talking about this project. And again, very supportive of what we're trying to accomplish. But my experience has been exactly the same, is that when we talk about integration and what that means, a lot of the people that we talk to think that that's already happened. And just because everybody's working in under the same roof in the same building does not equate to an integrated system.
So a question I have, since police has already kind of gone to the new integrated system, just with the police, when I did my ride-along with the sheriff's deputies and the Valley Police Department, they could pull up and see then all the activity that's going on, police in the different areas. They could put up a screen. And so you at Liberty Lake can see what's going on in Spokane Valley.
Correct.
And Spokane County to know what's happening. So that's then what we're going to be expecting, with fire here soon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that'll cross platform. It'll cross jurisdictions, police, fire. Be able to see all those assets and resources. It gives you good awareness of where everything's at, what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
from both sides.
so it's the clarity for me that's what's happening there, and that's on the computer side.
Right.
You're transitioning to that, and then on the emergency communication side, it's those people that are sitting in our communications building that have been siloed, that's what now we're going to get them to come together and be able to work together more.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So one of the questions I had is that when leaders of our regional emergency responders were debating on whether to switch to this new integrated model, were there communities that we looked at across the nation or even in the state of Washington that we used as examples?
Yeah, so both, Mary. We used, primarily we spend a lot of time focusing on the Washington entities, and for good reason. There's some really, really good centers that are models of integrated centers in the state of Washington. We went to Cressa, which was Clark Regional down in Vancouver. We actually took a field trip down there and spent time down there. Same thing with Norcom, which is the Bellevue area, East King County area. Took a field trip, spent a day there going through their system. We also went to Valleycom, which is ultimately the center that we modeled the Spokane Regional Center after, because it's a very similar size, very similar demographics for an organizational perspective for us. So we went to those three personally, studied them closely. Very high performance centers, and they were easy to find. They're close. We also looked across the country, Fairfax County and Wake County in North Carolina, and so there's a lot of examples of really efficient, effective, high-performing centers out there, and we certainly looked at those, not just from an operational perspective, like how are we going to operate within our center, but also a governance. How are we going to set this thing up structurally from the governance side, so that it allows the operations people to be successful. And so that took a lot of time. We've been working on it for several years, as you know.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things when I first became commissioner, and I have to say was one of the things that we felt was very important as an elected official, that we didn't have elected officials on your board, on the SREC board, so that way it stayed with the people that know what needs to be done and know how to do it, and it doesn't get political, because again, safety for our citizens is the most important thing, and so I think the structure was very important in how it was set up. So.
And part of that too is that governance structure is that we are not only looking at the board level, but we're looking at the user group level, so that we make sure that we receive input from those that are actually using the radio system on a daily basis, and obtaining their input and getting that feedback back to the board so we can make the best decisions possible.
Yeah, that board is 4 fire chiefs, 4 police chiefs, the county executive, and the city administrator. So really, subject matter experts in the field making the decisions for their area expertise, which is regional emergency response and communications. So.
No, and I think it's a a great thing when we all come together like that, and so it is. It makes it very regional based on the structure that we have for the board. So, and that's thank you to both of you as you were part of the process. So to make sure that it was done and done correctly, so that way it's set up for the future for a long time.
Exactly.
So what noticeable changes, if any, will the public see right away once the integrated center begins to operate in July?
Well, I think from a public standpoint, they really should not notice a difference. In other words, somebody calls 911 because they're having an emergency. They're not going to notice a difference between the way the system operates from when they dial 911 to the response that they're going to get. The difference is going to become in those efficiencies and hopefully some response times. But from a consumer standpoint, it's not going to be very different for their experience.
And that's the goal, is to slowly take our 150 employees and make the changes within the organization, so that as we change over time, that those changes are as smooth as possible, that they're not highly noticeable. And so our goal all along has been really no changes to service levels or anything else at the very beginning. We have to get the employees trained. There's a lot of work to do over a period of years to make the full transition. And so our hope is that it's almost not noticeable.
Right.
Yeah, and I think for the general public, there won't be that notice,
Yeah.
but for the employees and the staff, there'll be that change. One of the new technologies might be coming is to text 911. Is that true?
Yeah. So Next Gen 911, Next Generation 911 is what I was talking about earlier. It's the biggest kind of technology change, biggest change to the 911 system in 50 years that's been running. So that's really text, video, photos. Those will all be sent from smartphones in the field rather than a traditional phone call to the comm center, to the emergency communication center, which then will take that information and push that out to the responders on their computer screens to see the very same video, photos, or information that is being sent into the center. And then, so the result of that is, the public, that's how they communicate now.
Yeah.
And so they expect us to accommodate that. And so that's why, Next Gen 911 is really come to fruition. It's because we kind of have to. That's how people communicate.
Yeah.
70+% of the calls nowadays are from cell phones. Well, not that many years ago, it was landlines.
Right.
So we have to keep up with that. These new technologies, as they come in, will drastically change how we do business, how the center does business. And I don't think they'll slow down. I think these new technologies will just continue to come.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we just have like a minute left. So if there's anything else that either one of you would like to add to the conversation?
I think this is an exciting opportunity for our community. Hopefully this sheds some light about what it is we're trying to accomplish and the reasons why we're doing it. And I think most exciting to me is that those that are really responsible for making this successful are those that are leaders in the organization. They're the emergency responders, the leaders in those areas that are really focused on making the right decision to make this the best system possible for our area.
No, and I completely agree. So again, thank you for being on the forefront of this, because it was everyone coming together to make this happen. So I'd like to thank my guests today, Bryan Collins from Spokane Valley Fire Department and Brian Asmus from Liberty Lake Police Department. As a reminder, a video of today's Spotlight can be accessed on our Spokane County homepage and on our Spokane County YouTube channel. I'm County Commissioner Mary Kuney. Thank you for joining us today on the Spokane County Spotlight. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.